This episode is sponsored by Shutterstock.com with over 20 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips. Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level for 30% off your new account. Head on over to Shutterstock.com and use offer code GAMEBREAKER5.
GameBreaker TV.
Blam! Blam! What's up, everybody? Welcome to This Week in MMO, episode 143 for May 10th, 2012. You're watching Game Breaker. I'm Gary again. Coming up today, Josh Allen left us for Blizzard, but the joke's on him because WoW is totally dead. ZeniMax talks armor and recognizing your opponent in Elder Scrolls Online, and Neverwinter is having a tad of growing pains with the Foundry. All that and more, but first, from Zam.com, the editor-in-chief, wearing a vest, Scott Hawks.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, I think what happened was everyone heard that Josh was going to Blizzard, and then at one point, like, a couple of million people ran away.
They ran.
That's what happened.
They're like,
oh, no, it's coming. That's what happened.
Is he scary, man?
I have
He's scary.
graphs.
You have graphs? You have charts? You have math to prove it? Good.
I do.
Good.
PowerPoint
And of
slides
course...
the works.
What?
PowerPoint slides the works.
Ooh. I'm a Keynote fan myself.
Not bad.
And Mr. Jason Winter.
Mm-hmm. I think actually Lore's hair makes up for at least 1.3 million subs all by itself.
Ooh, this is true. This is true.
Density actually
Yeah,
equates
I mean-
to 1.3 million subs.
Well, I think it might have been there was enough room in the Blizzard office for like the information for those 1.3 million accounts and his hair.
The
You had
hair
to get rid of
apparent.
one or the other.
The hair apparently can
The hair
multi-box.
apparent.
The
The hair
takes,
apparent.
Law, the hair apparent.
the hair takes up server space.
That's gonna be his. That's gonna be his blue name.
Oh, the hair apparent.
The hair apparent.
Dead giveaway. All right, let's talk about. So yes, massive news this week. Activision Blizzard released some sub numbers. World of Warcraft is officially dead with only 8.3 million subscribers. That's kind of close to zero, right? 8.3 million, zero.
If
It's
you-
pretty.
More or less.
Go zero.
Carry the two.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close. It's
Okay.
pretty. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's dead. But in all seriousness, no. In all seriousness, so what was it? The last number we had heard before this was 9.6 million, which was actually up. Before that, it was 9.1 million. But at the end of, as of the end of March, it dropped to 14%. It dropped 14%, which to 8.3 million. There's still a ton of people obviously playing it. I'm joking. King of the Hill, it's not going anywhere, but still, they gotta be a little bit concerned with 14%, right? When you throw it in that, when you put it in that perspective, you're like, ooh, that sounds a little bit.
And when you remember that the high that we always had for was like around 12 million at one point, so now it's down like almost a full third from that. And so yeah, I mean that's got to be something you're at least kind of concerned about. Even though, like you said, yeah, it's not going away. 8 million is still plenty, but you got to start figuring out a way to reduce that.
It's not something you can like laugh off, certainly. But you go, right, how old's the game? Lifespan of the game, current subscriber base related to the lifespan of the game. It's not the end of the world. I mean, they've got to expect it's going to hit. There's going to be on a downward curve just due to age, and how many times.
Couple that, right? Couple that with the where we are in the lifespan of just Mists of Pandaria, the expansion cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of like we were talking about this on Legendary. We're kind of about at that 3/4 mark since MOP launched to when they're going to probably announce the next expansion, which it always peaks up and goes back up. So
usually when you'd have a dip anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, Pandaria has been out for a good while now. I mean, it's not that long, but they've also been releasing stuff at a lot faster of a clip. And there haven't been any like super huge, big major MMO releases. There've been releases, but nothing like gigantic. Yeah. I mean, Jason, did you expect some kind of a drop like this? Would you have expected this drop at this time?
I would have expected some drop because, as you said, Mr. Pandaria, if this came out at the end of March and the last one would have been like end of December, Pandaria came out in end of September. So you figure 3 months for people to really play it a lot and still have pretty steady or growing numbers. I would have expected some kind of drop off in the next 3 months, but down all the way to 1.3. They haven't been that low since announcing 8 million back in
07.
I think it was 2002. I think 08. I think I saw a press release. I think I saw 7 million in 07, 8 million in 08. So yeah, they haven't been that low in close to 4.5 years. It was like late 08. So I wouldn't have really expected them to go that far.
The Burning Crusade?
Whatever. Yeah, it was right around one of those expansions.
Yeah. So
here's the flip side of that though. You're saying that, but looking back, I think that was like 07, 08, but whatever it was, they came back from that all the way back then. So they had numbers like that.
Well, they were still growing back then, I think, because it was 7 million in 1 year, then 8 million the next, then eventually like 10, and then 12, and then since 12, it's been kind of.
I think the main comparison to do with is what's the drop off comparatively to when Cataclysm had a similar lifespan to Cataclysm. Like, have they had as big a drop off as what happened with Cataclysm? Don't think that's the case. Is it? I mean, they had a larger number to start with, and the amount that they shed when Cataclysm was in full disappointment.
So you think it was the same, like around that 14%? That's what you're saying?
Yeah. So, like, I think as long as as long as it's not a case of, say, it's like 14% to Cataclysm and then 25% in this one, I think then they would be really worried. But if they're shedding at a similar rate around a similar time to the previous expansion, then I don't think that it's going to be as dramatic and worrying as it might be. If there was if it was bigger percentage fall off, if you went from expansion to expansion, especially because Cataclysm wasn't the most passionately received, shall we say, of the expansions. In other words, it was a bit rubbish. Then you'd have problems. But I don't think it's the end of the world. No, if they lose another 5 million, then they'd be as low as the second MMO.
Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick said that most of the sub losses came from the East. So, and he also I don't know if he pointed out, but it's been pointed out that subs actually bring in less money there. So on one hand, it's it's a bit less of a loss than people might anticipate because they are coming from the East. And my God, there's so much competition in the East as well. I mean, didn't we hear that? I can't remember if it was a MMO a day or an MMO, a couple, like more than one MMO a week, I think comes out in the East compared to here. So, oh my God, like, could you imagine the noise that's going on? I mean, we're starting to see that ramp up here with more and more, where there used to only be a few a year, but now it's coming at more of a clip. But man, could you imagine an MMO a day coming out in the US?
Sometimes it seems like that. It really does.
Do you think we're going to get to that point? Because do you think we're going to just start seeing?
I mean, no more than like one. I mean, depends what you call an MMO. Like, I found something, I tweeted out today. It's something like Fisher Pro Online or something like that. It's like, it's labeled as an MMO. There's like a beta for it, and I was like, no, I'm just not going to do it. So, I mean, stuff like that might be on the, stuff we see about once a week. But, in terms of stuff that most people are going to give any sort of care about, it's going to be more like every couple of months or so, probably.
The other thing is Blizzard, they're expecting actually to have fewer subscribers by the end of the year. So potentially we're on there. And this isn't like they're getting blindsided by this. They already kind of have the number. They're kind of anticipating it, right? So, yeah. I mean, there's going to be some more competition by year's end. You got Elder Scrolls, you got WildStar.
Yeah. It depends also on what they're going to announce at BlizzCon. Because if they're anticipating fewer subscribers by the end of the year, that's of course because they're not going to have a new expansion to bring people back in by the end of the year, or they're going to announce another MMO, and that might split the audience a little. They'll go, "Oh, I'll hold off a little," something along those lines, perhaps.
Does an actual announcement? Does an announcement affect how many people are currently playing? Like, if they announce this year they're doing an expansion next year, like they tend to do, does that actually bump the numbers?
I think
unless they offer a deal like the you call it.
The annual
The
pass.
annual pass, yes.
Yeah.
hmm
Then I could see it, but I mean, I don't see that just an announcement of an expansion would be something that gets people back in.
No. Well, I mean, some do just because it generates interest again, and so
Sure.
people pop back in to look at it. So it does a small bump. But no, what I mean is if they're saying that if they're anticipating fewer subscribers by the end of the year, well, of course, there's not going to be an expansion then before the end of the year to bring people back in. So that would just be that's just the natural lifespan of the expansion.
Also, don't forget about the rumor, the Titan rumor, right? Remember the rumor about having your World of Warcraft character somehow in the game. They have not. That is a rumor. We don't know much about it. I'm going with the mini pet. I'm going with mini pet.
Your character as a mini pet?
The rumor is there is a major tie-in with Titan.
Okay.
I'm saying that your character is you're gonna be able to bring a character and you're gonna have a mini pet.
Well, characters have so many hit points now; they can just be bosses.
They could be. They could
Sure.
be. Scott, why do you think it's like totally like insane? I mean, I think if they tie it in that tight.
Well, yes, because essentially what you're going to do. So if it's that tied in, then you're linking what through. It's a different dimension that WoW is linked to by something, or does it take place? Does the IP of Titan have some sort of like thematic link with WoW, or is there a direct link? If it does have a link, then is it really a completely different IP, or is it still the same universe as well? It starts getting a little bit.
Come on, what if it's just a little pet? It doesn't
incestuous.
matter. You don't need
If it's just a
lore.
pet, then that's not an
Yeah.
integral link, is it? Your character doesn't have an integral link. You can be a pet. Ooh.
Come on, Swotor's got a
I can
freaking like
live out my
TIE
life
fighter.
in Titan.
Swotor's got like a TIE fighter that follows you around. Like that's
Okay, that's nice.
it's a pet. Who cares?
If it's a pet, then cool. But it's not like that's not saying there's an integral crossover between your character and WoW. And Titan. It's like, cool, I can have a version of my character as a pet. That's nice, but it's not like it's a big crossover.
I think you get a lot of people to play it. So what do you guys? Do
Well,
you guys think that?
What
Are we on?
marketing is calling an integral crossover, and what they'll actually do could be two different things.
This is true. I don't know. Do you guys think that do you think that we're on sort of that like slow downward spiral? I mean, the game is. We talk about this all the time. I mean, the game is
It has been for a while.
It's been out for quite a while. It's got to start going down somewhat.
Yeah.
But
It
we're
has
going to
been
see that
going down
spike
for a
again.
while.
BlizzCon's going to come. They're going to announce an expansion, and it'll spike right back up, and like that 1.3 million will just go right back in. I don't think it's on this downward trend spiral for like.
I think it is on a downward trend spiral because it was at 12 million and now it isn't. So it is on a downward trend, but it's not like it's a cliff. You know what I mean? This isn't like your ear's going to pop from the huge drop that WoW is taking. It's on a gradual decline that a game of its age would be. However, do I think that it will never reach like 9 million again? It's possible that it could with the next expansion, certainly. So it's on a decline, which is perfectly reasonable and to be expected. But it's not like it's suddenly crashing and burning at all. And what they do with Titan and of course the next expansion for WoW, will greatly depend on how quick that decline is.
And I think you're going to be, we talk about it always, but you're probably never going to see it actually die, because even if it goes down to some number, there's still going to be some core people who are always going to play it just forever. Just like, if you look at a smaller game, something like I'm going to take like Lord of the Rings Online. It's been around for like 5-6 years. It's not as big as it once was, maybe, but it's still there. Still probably making turbine money. Still has a core bunch of players who are still going to be in it.
Ultimate Online.
Wow, just like 10 times as many people.
Is there a drinking game when every time Jason mentions Lord of the Rings Online? Just wondering.
It's just what I do.
I'm just wondering because I know there's a SWG one, so everybody could drink there. But I figured there might be one for you for low.
To me, EverQuest.
yeah, that's EverQuest.
I'll mention EverQuest. Drink.
Okay.
Coffee. Coffee.
Across, the industry. Just looking at it in general, I mean, a decade of dominance has been just amazing. So,
Of course, it's incredible.
It really is incredible.
And the question is, where will this, of course, lead to the big change in the revenue model?
Cue dramatic squirrel. Who knows? All right, the king is dead. Long live the king. Roll on Titan. Let's do it. All right, let's talk about some Elder Scrolls Online. But first, I want to tell you guys really quickly about a brand new sponsor. Yes, that's right. We have Shutterstock. Shutterstock.com right here on the Game Breaker TV. I'm proud to have the Shutterstock as a new sponsor. Do you guys know what Shutterstock is? You guys have educating everybody.
I have heard from very reliable sources.
I have heard, but please fill me in on the details.
Well, I will fill you in on the details. Right?
Well, thank you.
You need stock photography, artwork, drawings,
quite regularly.
Icons.
In my line of work, yes.
Hey, everybody has a website. Everybody's got a website, right? A lot of them look like crap, right? You pick a bad theme, you just like throw it up there. You don't really pay attention to. Yeah, your cat has probably a bad website. Your cat probably needs better artwork on their website, and that's how you do it. You go to Shutterstock.com. I was typing this before. Let's change the fantasy. I'm gonna type in fantasy dragon. I need a dragon. I need a fantasy dragon. I mean, look at
that's supposed to a realistic dragon, like the kind you see,
like this one. You need this one. But seriously, if you were looking for a piece of artwork like this, you know how much that would cost you to make? That'd be insane. Like you'd have to hire somebody to make this. We've been working on 2 new websites, and I'm doing icons and all kinds of little UI elements and things like that. I don't know. Let's see fantasy. Let's look up icons. Let's see what we can come up with. So let's see. Oh no, I have a membership. Thank you very much. Oh, robots, ships. How awesome are these? Like you'd have to spend a ridiculous amount of money if you needed to make these for your website. This is like the secret weapon, people. If you guys have a website, guild website, whatever you got, personal website, and you want to spruce it up and make it look like a professional website and you don't have the skills, this is what you do. You go over to Shutterstock.com, you sign up, you make an account, and you download some artwork for professional artists like this. Stuff is great. There's so much good stuff on here. You're looking to do a logo for your a brand. There's photography, there's vectors, there's stock footage, there's icon sets, there's badges, like everything you could imagine is up here. Butterflies. I'm going to start a butterfly website right now.
For your cat. Well, for your dog, I guess. Yeah.
Go on over. When you go to Shutterstock.com, you sign up with a brand new account. On your checkout, if you use GameBreaker5, use the promo code GameBreaker5, you're going to get 30% off. I want you to check it out and get 30% off of your package, whatever you go for. There's a couple different options there. So, but probably I think this is one of the largest discounts Shutterstock has ever given anyone. So, very, very awesome to have those. You've been using these guys for years. Love the site. I'll be going through some other stuff in the next few weeks and stuff because there's a lot of cool things in here and some new stuff in the Shutterstock Labs, which I really want to show you guys, but we'll talk about that another day. Shutterstock.com, promo code GameBreaker5. All right, let's talk about some Elder Scrolls Online. Oh, somebody's awake.
Ah!
Somebody doesn't want to talk about Elder Scrolls Online.
You should have said that. You should not have said Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh, that's what it is.
I'm telling you.
Little Jack is signed up for beta and waiting. And he's like, I want to play.
He's not happy about it. He goes, I've set up 5 different emails. I got no reply. Don't mention that game to me.
Ever.
I said, good day, sir.
No, Thank Jack you. Did the leaks, right? It was him.
Oh yes.
No, he can play an MMO better than whoever did that leak. he can use more than the left mouse click. Good God, he's over a week old. Come on.
So this week we got some stuff. The Elder Scrolls team responded to a question about recognizing your opponents in PvP. I thought this was kind of interesting. They said, even though every player can use any armor type, the choice has a huge influence on play style. More so than class even. Light armor will allow you to cast many more spells, but at the expense of protection. While it is certainly possible to use light armor and fight in the front line, it will make you a lot less survivable than someone wearing heavy armor. So, if you see an enemy in robes, it's pretty safe bet that he'll be throwing some spells at you. That said, many different builds are possible, so figuring out what your enemy is capable of is part of the fun in PvP. I read this and I really, 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 really hope that last part is true.
Well,
really.
It is because although the example given was, well, if he's in light, it's only light armor, it's pretty obvious he's going to be throwing spells at you. That's true. But if he's in heavy armor, he could still be throwing spells at you. So that means nothing. So as long as it's light armor, you know what's going on. And if they're in medium armor, they're probably stealth. So so the idea that you're going to be able to know, other than light armor, yes, they're going to be spellcasting, because if they're dual wielding and they're using light armor, which gives you magic bonuses, they're just stupid. But if they're wearing, like, you know, anything else, you've got no idea pretty much until whatever they're doing hits you.
Which sounds great,
yeah,
right? What about like dodge tanks and battle wizards?
You know, it's like I almost thought. When I play PvP, I don't even so much know that I even look at what the guy looks like anymore. I look at what he's doing. If he's swinging a two-handed sword, that's what matters. If he's chucking fireballs, that's what matters. I'm not usually paying attention to how he's dressed. I'm not like judging him on the red carpet. Like, oh, and the PvP invader is wearing a fine armored plate mail with a frilly shoulder piece. And no, he's got a big ass sword. That's all I care about.
But so even if he's got a big ass sword, he could still be casting.
He's still throwing spells.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about like complete hybrids are going to be like such a menace in this game. I mean, like people who go totally hybrid spec, you're gonna have a hell of a time trying to figure out what they're doing until
I'm
they're
offering
up
a
on
prayer
you.
to the gods of balance.
You can absolutely have people charging through with a greatsword, and then letting off spells as well. So
lighten up your ass.
If they're wearing a light armor, you know what's going on. But that's it, really.
I don't know what ZeniMax's stance on recognizing who you are in a fight, but I don't know. Some developers make actually a huge deal about being able to read silhouettes of your enemies in PvP. It's a very big part of it. I mean, Jason, it sounds like that doesn't really matter too much to you, but is it because of the game? Most MMO games that have PvP haven't really utilized that to its full effect.
I think it depends. Sometimes it depends on even like the graphics of the game, like how flashy the effects are. You know, if there's really big explosions and fire and so on, it's more easy to identify that as opposed to if it's just sort of like a little, I wave my hand and then something burns somewhere else. It's a little harder to see maybe in that case. And a lot of other games I play, when you mouse over or you tag into somebody, it'll show you a little icon for their class or something. So that, I think I use that sort of thing to identify what kind of thing I'm going up against in PvP. Maybe from a distance, I could see a big guy in heavy armor running at me, so I'll have an idea what he's like. When I'm actually in kind of the thick of it, I pay more attention to what he's using, or like the UI telling me what kind of class he is.
What about you, Scott?
I think with Elder Scrolls, some of the silhouettes aren't going to be so dramatically different based on the different alliances. Like some of the races are going to look very different to each other, but some of them aren't. So there's going to have to be some like an indication on top of that, like that initial recognition to make it easily discernible who you're fighting, I think. But it's because the alliance versus alliance I've seen, there isn't really. I didn't really see that much. I didn't really see how you have it highlighted who's the enemy, who isn't, because it gets pretty hectic. And from the amount of people and the sort of speed that they were running around on screen, you're going to need a way to figure out who's who. So I'm not quite sure how they're doing that just yet. I don't know if you're going to have glows around everything of different colours. I'm not sure that'd be great, but we'll see.
Again, I think as Jason said, we will pray to the balance gods. The hybrids are going to be crazy. And it's going to be interesting. Going to be really interesting.
That's the main thing I'm looking forward to be honest, is that ability to build in different directions with different armor types.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Neverwinter. I think everybody's been checking it out. The Foundry, which is the player-run modules system within the game for players to create their own scenarios. Well, it may not be full of penis, but it is definitely full of power gamers. So players are creating missions that, according to Cryptic, involve certain exploits to allow player to level faster. So seemingly, I guess this exploit involves missions that just contain nonstop combat, which seems a bit odd. But I don't know exactly. I don't know. Does anybody have any specifics of how this exploit is actually working? I'm not sure if there's some deeper exploit here or if there's anything specific people are doing.
It was down to the speed at which you could complete certain sort of farming type of Foundry missions within a very short space of time, and they were getting massive amounts. I mean, for the Foundry's been since the start the best way to level up compared to anything. I mean, you get PvP, you get good rates and so on. But the Foundry's always been the best way. But there were people who were basically finding the sweet spot in when to enable you to clear loads and loads of mobs in a very short time and complete the whole thing very quickly.
Didn't everybody expect this to happen? I mean, you gave the players the tool sets to create their own scenarios. I mean, did you not expect like people to just create like rooms full of monsters just to like kill stuff over and over and over? I mean,
they have the Foundry in Star Trek Online, so shouldn't they have been prepared for it based on what might have happened in there? I mean, wouldn't you be able to do the same thing there and they know about this and take some precautions?
I mean, it's one of the first things that are kind of as soon as they announced the Foundry, I'm like, someone's going to do that.
Of course,
someone's going to figure out a way to exploit anything.
Going to do that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like I'm going to make one just for my friends to run, who are going to make the exact same one for me, and we're going to live in each other's Foundries all day long.
Yeah, and somebody's going to figure out the math to it and figure out the perfect mobs and everything to put in there and get the most XP per like hour and just sit there and grind the thing until you're max level. So Cryptic they've responded and basically they're nerfing XP gain. So you can now only earn so much XP in 5 minutes. That's what they've done. They've done it by time now in 5 minutes before it's cut off. And then basically the timer will reset for another 5 minutes. And I don't know. Is this a good solution? It kind of sounds like it might hurt everybody. Does it?
Yes, but it's difficult to come up with a way that it isn't, because the problem is because there's so much flexibility within the Foundry. There's so many ways that, like, I don't know. I create a pit full of mobs that I am standing over in my balcony, and then I just AOE them all down, and I win. Yay! Let's do this again. That was a great Foundry, but if you don't, how are you gonna control that without taking away the sort of customization and flexibility that the Foundry's got, unless you limit the amount of XP you can get within a certain time? And it is people. There's already people who have done like the sort of legitimate, this is here to mainly, level up and so on, but it's within normal parameters, and they're being affected too. So people who have put their time and effort into making a good leveling experience have found that they're going to get knocked, and of course people rate the fun of the Foundry, and they can get donations within game from other players and so on. So if that affects the performance of their instance, then that's going to be a bit of a downer for them. But
how much
is what else are you going to do?
How much does it break the game though if you just let players just do it and get to max level? I mean, I'm not max level. I've been playing a little bit, but I've been hearing that you can get to max level actually playing through the game in a fairly short amount of time. It's not like it's this incredible grind, right? So what's really why don't they just? I mean, it kind of seems like this is a really hard thing for Cryptic to kind of police and monitor. I mean, if players can create missions, they're giving you the tools, they're giving you, with real rewards. People are going to try and break the system, but
yeah, but
why don't they just let them do it?
Because it depends how far it goes. Because then what you don't want is people basically just everyone doing the path of least resistance. And if you let these things spring up all over the place, then you've got half of the Foundry choices that you have are these dynamic like XP generators that are just going to be overpopulated choice. The sort of people who are into making like really interesting examples in the Foundry, and there's plenty of those, are going to get kind of swamped by all of these. So you don't want it to get too far. I'm surprised that it wasn't already kind of within check before it went live though, because this is a yes, of course this is going to happen kind of situation.
So now I assume that obviously I haven't built anything in the Foundry, but I assume none of this is looked at by a human being. It just you submit it and it goes through and it's live.
I believe so. I haven't finished mine yet, but I didn't see any sort of like submit for moderation or anything. Just like to just publish. So I think it just goes.
I would imagine that's the system they're going with because it'd probably be a nightmare.
What about maybe they could do something like how you can report someone for spamming or for botting or whatever. Maybe they could add that feature in to like report this mission for being like a really stupid farming mission or something, and maybe if it gets enough votes against it, then they take a look at it. It doesn't get shut off automatically, but at least gets looked at.
Well, they have a rating system.
Yeah. Well,
they have a rating
system. But I can rate something that's like 1 star because it's a crappy mission, but it's not abusive or anything. I'll just rate it based on quality. Whereas have something separate that's rated based on this is spam or this is.
So you think maybe they?
I thought you already
should. I'm sure there's a reporting mechanism somehow to send them a message, and I'm sure they would love to hear about that. Can you? I'm not as educated as I should be on the Foundry. So can you also make Foundry missions that are private just for you and your friends?
I don't think so. I think you can. I want to say there's a way to invite people to test it.
I'll wait for chat room to tell me because that's actually somebody else. You said the same thing. Can Foundry be private? Because that's what I was going to say. Is that if you can create private group Foundry missions, then yes, people are just going to do that, make them private, and be like, "Hey, guild, I've got the Foundry for everybody to burn through. Let's do this." So I don't know.
I think the testing thing doesn't give you XP or anything. So
do you think the 5-minute thing is going to the 5-minute limit is really going to solve this problem?
I think
what it'll be is if they say you can only get 10,000 XP in 5 minutes, then people will make Foundry requests to give you 9,999 XP in 5 minutes, or whatever the number is.
It seems like an odd band-aid to me. Like it seems like a band-aid that's not really going to work. It's still going to be hemorrhaging, but.
Yeah, it's what you do when you give them that kind of power. You just
and
you got to figure it out. That's why most games don't do it properly.
It is a dangerous thing to put a core element in the game into the player's hands, but that's what makes it so interesting at the same time. So there's always going to be a downside to it. But yeah, right. I don't see, because you can kind of rush to 60 as it is, especially if you're willing to spend like Astral Diamonds and all the rest of it. You can really rush through. There's a lot of people doing that, hitting 60 pretty damn quick. So I don't think it's the end of the world, but also I can see the downside that if you just let it run rampant, then it would kind of mess up what the Foundry's supposed to be for. I think, and especially for your sort of hardcore people who they want to be the ones who are sticking with it long term, it could turn them off a bit. They don't want that to happen.
Well, hopefully they figure it out, because I think it's such a great addition to the MMO scene to actually see something like this happen. I kind of figured that people would definitely try and exploit it. We'll see how it shakes out. Jason Winter, you can follow him on the Twitter at Winter Informal. Winter Informal. Go follow now on Twitter, Winter Informal. Scott Hawks, editor-in-chief of Zam.com. Follow him at Jaramore. That is Jarimor. Gotta go feed the baby. Time to feed the kid.
Feed the baby.
Feed the baby. All right, you can follow me at Gary Gannon. Follow Garyburger TV at Garyburger TV. We do the show live, usually on Fridays at 3, but we're going to be doing it at 8 for the next few weeks. 8 PST for a few weeks. Temporary time, so if you guys want to come over for the live show,
good to know.
Please do. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for watching. Go to netflix.com/GameBreakerTV. Get a free 30-day trial today. We'll see you next week.